Although I took 2.5 years of, actually, I think I took 3.5 years of Spanish because I failed 1 year. But you know, we'll let you slide on this one, even though I do feel like I have some experience in Spanish.
Fair enough.
Compared to you.
This is sort of, yeah. I mean, yeah, without a doubt. Spotting in the top left-hand side of the map as the blue TerraN player for Team Liquid. It is Diego Schwimmer, Kelazhur do Brasil.
Down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, the red player who's so creative in everything that he does that he reserved his creativity purely for his play by naming himself the most boring standard thing you could. It's TerraN.
Yeah.
He saved it all up. Yeah, saved all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even an original name. Special already used it too.
Yeah. To be fair, Special has used half of the alphabet or like the dictionary of names.
This is very true. Yeah, most of them are copied from Korean pros though, including Special, I believe, like Korean Brood War pros.
You know, I don't know if he would admit. I don't know if he would agree to this. And
no, he would.
No, sorry. I'm going to say something else. Sorry, I phrased this very poorly for that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if he would agree to what I'm about to say, but I think that he was doing the constant switching from name to name, and he actually registered for a tournament that I had, and I was like, all right, if you register for the tournament, you have to settle on a name because it was a ladder heroes tournament. Basically, it was like you play on the ladder, and I'm like, you can't just switch names every month. You like that's one of the rules. You can't just like have random names and nobody knows who you are for like a month at a time. And that was the time that he stuck with Special. And some part of me thinks if somehow he had registered for Ladder Heroes when he was still named like Anna Prosser, would he just still be Anna Prosser?
Maybe he would. I doubt he would be still Anna Prosser. But yeah, that is pretty cool actually. He probably thought, wow, okay, if this is too much for Fear Dragon, I think this is the time to do it. You know?
I mean, I'm the king of keeping a name no matter how stupid it is.
Fair enough. I mean, I think you could still switch to Dragon or My Sweet Dragon.
My Sweet Dragon. Hold on, I need to go check actually on Twitter now. Is My Sweet Dragon available?
Oh, yeah, let's hope so. That would be wonderful. All right, so we're gonna have a double Reaper poke here. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so sad. But yeah, 2 Reapers are gonna poke, but TerraN already has a bunker, so pretty cool by him. Kelazhur might try going up the hill here, only to be met by a Reaper and a Marine. And because the Reaper was wounded and the other Reaper takes the shot first, I think that would have been enough for TerraN. So wise back away from Kelazhur. Now
this is not the kind of opening I feel like I usually see from TerraN players. Usually it is also like both players opening up with the double Reaper and making the Hellions and everything. Going straight into the Marines and getting out the bunker is a pretty interesting choice. And it's a very committedly safe and defensive choice, right? You are investing into all these units that are not going to have mobility, and even stuff like this is going to be a bit annoying. I like the idea of doing something different, but so far I don't know that it's been working out a whole lot.
Yeah, I like the idea as well, but Kelazhur is kind of outmaneuvering, and Kelazhur is one of the best players with Reapers out there, period. And so he's going to be able to find something. At least this Hellion should be taxed on the retreat. I think by TerraN, he has to anticipate the movement, of course. And the Reapers actually have no way to go either. So that ends up being pretty good for TerraN all in all, who was already ahead in workers by nature of taking this earlier CC. So he's going to keep his advantage. Reset the units from Kelazhur, who has lost now 400 resources compared to the 300 of TerraN. Not irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, I think overall kind of interesting trades. Still being able to deny him a bit of mining time and stuff was nice. And again, like I want to emphasize that the bunker is still a pretty big investment early on to go for that. I'm interested to see how things play out from here, and we'll see soon enough, I think, how the kind of economies and stuff are, like even just the tech choices and all that stuff are impacted by that earlier decision.
Yeah, I mean, TerraN will have an earlier Raven than Kelazhur, so that's pretty good. It's going to gain energy a little bit faster. Same for the tank. CC is going to be trailing a little bit behind, but not by a lot. I quite like what this opening has yielded for TerraN so far, but I mean it's a fairly even game, and we were talking about it. It's TVT. It's going to be highly positional. There's going to be opportunities for Kelazhur to catch back up and to reset, and it's not a big advantage.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We see a scan coming out, so Kelazhur really just wants to stay in the know and make sure he knows exactly what his opponent is going to be teching up to. If he's going to have some craziness of like a Banshee or something coming out. But yeah, seeing the Ravens, seeing a safety cyclone and everything, this is transitioning out into a more normal kind of setup.
Yes, indeed. Second Raven as well on the side of TerraN, whereas there is not a second Raven for Kelazhur, I believe. Instead, he's going to be going for Vikings. TerraN moves out with a single Marine, so we'll spot the Widow Mine, which will be forced to relocate as well. And now smartly also pushing out potentially with the Raven. But now we'll see that the Widow Mine has been relocated and will instead back away. So things will just kind of stabilize for either side. And yeah, nothing's happening.
Yeah, not a whole lot happening for a little bit, as both these players, I think, only have a small group of units that can really be kind of effective out on the map. And TerraN is just going to send out the low health Marines to get some scouting information or any kind of push out that it looks like Kelazhur is now set up to do, now that he has his 2 Ravens and even a handful of Vikings to try and set up. And oh my god, the brush, I think the brush blocked him from seeing anything more than just a single Marine.
For sure. But
the Cyclone and the Ravens being spotted, I think, is going to be a bit of a reveal of like the angle that's coming in.
Yeah, for sure. And we see TerraN reacting to that. Unlucky for Kelazhur, because if that Cyclone had just been in the front by itself, it would have been kind of perfect. It could just be the Cyclone that's moving out there, but with the Ravens revealed also, it kind of hints towards the fact that he is moving his entire army in that direction, and that is very much the case.
Oh, wow. I have no idea when Kelazhur got that Widow Mine out there. Oh man, if the Widow Mine... Oh, I thought if the Widow Mine had just killed the Marine, that would have been an interesting thing, because then might not have known the angle that this army was coming in from. There are a few of those tanks over there for TerraN. A third tank is making its way forward. Vikings also making their way forward, but Kelazhur definitely getting the advantage in terms of the Viking hit points and who's surviving. Auto turrets being thrown down already for TerraN as he loses all of his Ravens. It doesn't seem like any interference matrices are going to go off as Kelazhur's auto turrets demolish this army of TerraN.
They really demolished that. I mean, and it's going to be a GG quick and prompt there from TerraN. And Ravi, that was kind of sad. First of all, I missed one Raven from Kelazhur, so he did have to. But secondarily, I mean, those Ravens were such an early investment for either player. They had full energy, and one Raven from TerraN gets taken out right away.
Yeah.
So that is really, really rough. All the auto turrets, like you mentioned, come down for Kelazhur, who doesn't even siege his tanks because he just has enough to kind of push on through. So very well done by him, and unfortunate for TerraN. Falters at the first place that he
hurdle. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really, really tough when you just lose one of your Ravens that early like that. And he was poached forward, and that sometimes can be an opportunity. Like in a real jam, you can either throw down the auto turrets, because those are actually pretty short range in terms of the spell cast. But also there's other opportunities there, right? There's the opportunity to maybe get an interference matrix right as one of the siege tanks siege up, and then you can kind of delay the push, wait for more reinforcements to show up. They're going to be there faster than your opponents. But the Vikings just being so far forward there for Kelazhur made it pretty difficult.
Yes, indeed. A real jam. Ravi, what is your favorite jam?
I think I like blueberry jam. I don't really have jam, honestly. It's not really my thing.
I thought you've been practicing the guitar.
See, I was trying to think of that, but I couldn't think of any like really good artists. I did find this really cute video where someone animated this lesson for how to play funky guitar chords, and it was with like dogs, and it was like dogs dressed as samurai, that their weapon instead of the sword was a guitar, and they just taught really cool like jamming.
That sounds
chords.
really cool. You'll have to link me.
I'll absolutely link you. It was a great video.
Yeah, because when you say it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I don't understand what's so complicated about it. It was a samurai guitar that teaches how to play funk.
Two dogs.
Yeah, another. There's the senior dog and there's like the junior dog. And later on, the senior dog is playing like the bass lines and stuff, and the junior dog is playing like the main chords. Yeah.
Thank you for answering my question so eloquently. I still don't know what your favorite jam is. But in the top right-hand side of the map, playing for Team Liquid on Beckett, by the way, it's Kelazhur. mom in the background.
Oh my God. The one who made one of my favorite people. Down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, the red TerraN player. He is TerraN.
Oh, she said something before leaving too.
Oh, really? Oh.
I thought so. She turned
You
around.
wish him
looked at
luck.
her. She must have.
What's your favorite jam?
Strawberry, probably.
Strawberry? Okay. I can get behind that. Strawberry things are usually pretty well flavored.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Beckett, we have Ravi.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting map because things can happen fast on this map.
This is a map that most of the time gets vetoed because most people don't want to play TerraN on it. But guess who is willing to play TerraN on it? It's another TerraN player. That's the secret. We just don't get many TVTs these days, usually in our non-Korean region.
Yeah, I feel like Kelazhur is comfortable playing against TerraN on any map. The player.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I do think that having maps that have like a lot of dead airspace or like things that basically allow you to put on harassment or like do doom drops or have a lot of different avenues for attack and stuff, like maps that basically allow for positional play or advantages and things like that. Those are the maps that I feel like Kelazhur would feel more comfortable on. But I do agree. Like I think versus TerraN, he'd probably feel okay on most maps.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see what happens. Both players actually opening with double racks Reaper, so that is an interesting adaptation to the map in itself, right? Considering that there might be early aggression, considering that there might be contesting for CCs on the low ground. Both players actually actively delay their CC on the low ground, and Kelazhur actually might be able to punish TerraN here for the move out, but no, TerraN is not gonna overextend, just checks the natural and backs away. The Reapers are still on track to catch the other Reaper. They will notice him right away, but his speed zones are actually pretty funny. Still, Kelazhur gets overwhelming advantage. I mean, he reduces the army of TerraN by a great degree just by killing the one Reaper. Does not have enough to go up the ramp though, so he might get punished himself.
No accelerator zones for TerraN to capitalize on right there. But yeah, I think a really good point there. It is just being down that one Reaper means that if Kelazhur decides to continue staying aggressive, which he is going to back off, he's going to play it a little bit safer, but it could just make it uncomfortable for TerraN to try and establish that command center. And TerraN knows it. That's why he throws up his command center on the high ground, and Kelazhur has his on the low ground.
Exactly. And now TerraN is going to be transitioning as well, which is going to be further difficult for him when he gets that add-on for the barracks because he's not producing Reapers actively. So Kelazhur is going to check for the expansion on the low ground. He's going to find an SCV for free, potentially a cancel to the bunker, which does happen right away. And now pokes just to see because he has that advantage. So basically, with that Reaper kill, the defender's advantage is completely negated from TerraN, right? At any given point in time, Kelazhur could have as many Reapers as he, and that is very dangerous because that means Kelazhur has map control.
And TerraN is actually going back into the faster Marine play again, instead of going into, say, like the Hellions, which is oftentimes like a common follow-up to get at least one or two. Yeah. So now Kelazhur, especially against so many Reapers, is going to have this big AoE opportunity over here with the Hellions.
Yeah, I think this might be it. I mean, the SCVs are going to be pulled, but even losing SCVs right now and not being able to establish your base while your opponent of a high player of a higher caliber has already done that. He's already morphing his orbital command, whereas you have to land yours in order to start morphing it. The Hellions not even gonna be able to participate in this, and yet still Kelazhur feels like he has enough, and he really does to continue the damage. 7 workers, 8 workers, Ravi.
This is even if Kelazhur loses every single unit here, and I don't even think he's gonna be doing that unless he really dives hard. He's already killed 33% of the economy of TerraN. I know that this is one of those matchups where economy can be made up for in other ways, but well, if you lose all of your army and your economy, then you might be in some trouble, cats. GG.
GG, and a quick 2-0 there for Kelazhur. So we're gonna go to the third map, of course. This is a best of 5, but it's looking like the last series, and I'm not sure that TerraN can recover now mentally as well, right? And now you have to reset mentally and be like, okay, just gotta win 3 games against the guy that just beat me 2-0 in 5 minutes twice.
Yeah, that is definitely tough, but I mean, I guess you got to start off with 1 game. I want to credit Kelazhur also, the big Reaper pickoff that we kept highlighting being such a big deal in that game. was actually largely in thanks part to Kelazhur's kind of advanced planning. Like I don't know, they fully planned that it would work out so well with the accelerator zones and stuff, but he kept one of his Reapers hidden kind of at that third base location where it'd be normal for your opponent to kind of move forward and try and scout out the natural so that he could maybe potentially ambush his opponent further down. But I don't think he was expecting it to work out quite so well with the accelerator zone.
Yeah, for sure not. I think he was being mostly conservative with his first Reaper. He was scouting around for proxies and stuff like that, whereas TerraN was just, I wouldn't say reckless, but he kind of did the normal thing with his Reaper, moved out, checked for the natural base, then he was backing away. So it wasn't like he overextended that much either. It was just a little bit of luck from Kelazhur to have scouted around while waiting for the second Reaper to go for his actual poke. And then they ran into each other. I mean, it just doesn't get unluckier than that.
I do want to say also, like, there have been these little differences in the way that TerraN has been opening. It's like a bit different than I feel like the way a lot of other TerraN players I've seen open, whether it be in that first game going into like getting the bunker and the early Marines and stuff, or like that last game where after, you know, falling down one Reaper and stuff may have influenced it a little bit, but then going into Marines rather than getting up like either the Hellions or the Cyclone first and kind of focusing on that stuff. I wonder how much of that, like for a top level TerraN player and stuff like Kelazhur, who's competed at the international level, is just looking at these and being like, I got you, that you can't do that. Like, that's not something that's going to fly against a player of my caliber. Like, that's an immediate loss.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially because he wasn't able to establish that bunker on the low ground, right? If he gets the bunker, which is kind of begging for Kelazhur not to actually poke and prod like we saw Raynor do so much, like we talked about Clem doing so often, right? Like the best players in the world, and Kelazhur has to be talked about in a category, if not they're right below it, are gonna poke and prod, and they're gonna check and they're gonna see if there's openings with their extra APM, and Kelazhur does that and finds the bunker, and then it's done.
Well, guys, that does lead us into match point over here in game number 3 as we start up here at the top right-hand side of the map. In the blue from Team Liquid, he is Kelazhur.
And in the bottom left-hand side of the map, the red TerraN player, it is TerraN.
Oh, all right, we already got our second barracks on the way for TerraN.
I like it.
Yeah. I think you also were saying this as well in the I think the first game. Like, I like the idea of TerraN doing something a bit different, because I think if he just plays a super straight up normal game, he will still have a very hard time against a player like Kelazhur, he's that good. But it does seem like the differences he's chosen have not been working out.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I mean, he played kind of like the underdog, a little bit riskier with his Reaper Scout, not scouting for proxies. And Kelazhur played like the overdog in the last game, scouting for proxies and saying, you know, you're not going to pull a fast one over me because this is how I would lose the game. But oddly enough, usually that nets an advantage for the underdog, right? Because you're taking like more risks. But unfortunately for him, he got hard punished for it. And yeah, that last game was a little bit of bad luck. This game, I mean, I like the variation because he has a chance to actually contest for that low ground CC potentially, right? If Kelazhur goes for it, and maybe he sneaks out a win.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. We're going to start to see some of those Reapers heading across the map. Kelazhur has a command center on the low ground as well, is staying at home entirely with his Reapers, though is being very defensive. And I want to note that Kelazhur, like, he did send an SCV across the map. He didn't scout the second barracks, but he did get up to the top of the ramp and saw the one barracks at home.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's... I don't know that he actually saw anything to reveal the second Reaper, right?
Yeah, I don't think so, unfortunately. So he should be completely in the dark for the most part, right? Like the one barracks everyone's gonna have. So let's see if TerraN can capitalize. But like you said, Kelazhur is being so cautious, and he should be, right? Like, if this game develops, then he's gonna have more opportunities to scout, more units to throw around. And so I like what he's doing. And with the Hellion, I mean, he's gonna have an easy time cleaning up these Reapers. This is a terrible start for TerraN. Kelazhur should shove off the weakened Reapers. He's just got to put them in the back instead. But now they're targetable, so one of them will go down unnecessarily, in my opinion. But hey, he cleans up 4 for 1. That's a pretty good trade.
Yeah, and he actually, I mean, he only loses 1 worker as well. That's going to be really tough. And now you actually end up seeing the counter reaction here. TerraN saying, I took a really bad trade. Now I have to be worried about his Reapers coming across the map until I get up my own Cyclone or these other factory units, which he's actually going to go for a Widowmine before a Cyclone or anything. So he has to throw up the barracks. Like, there's additional investments that have to be made now in order to just not die to some kind of like really quick counter swing.
Yes, indeed. And that is troublesome as the underdog to play from behind already. And then to have to account for what your opponent might be doing on top of that and investing further resources into defense. I mean, Kelazhur is going to be able to exploit this, I would think. He should be looking at potentially taking a third. And yeah, things are not looking great here for TerraN.
I do like that Widowmine placement there from TerraN, where he's going to be able to potentially intercept the Reapers if they try and jump up to the main base. Even got a few Marines over there to help out if like the second Reaper survives. With just a few hit points, you can try and deny a bit of that vision and stuff. But, well, if Kelazhur actually moves forward with the Cyclone, he could start picking away at the bunker, and there's not a whole lot TerraN can do about it.
Yeah, I definitely love the position. I think it's pretty good, right? Like, as soon as those Reapers are up the ramp, so they have very little time to react. Also helps against medevacs, helps against Banshees. So it's pretty cute. TerraN is going to try and get some more scouting information here, but will be promptly shut down by this little force of Kelazhur. He does get his information. There is a Raven out, and that much he knows. But look at
oh my god, Kelazhur, you're actually a god. All right, so normally Widow Mines, if they're burrowed, you can see a little divot in the ground, but you can only do that if you have vision of that area. Kelazhur didn't have vision of the area. He just had a feeling, I guess. Like, oh my god, he's such a god. Oh my god.
I have no idea what that scan was prompted by. I think he maybe was just looking for, you know, what TerraN was doing in terms of production, but just happened to have a Cyclone close enough that he could capitalize.
Yeah, maybe it was just total random chance there. Pretty amazing. Oh, the Widowmine almost went off on the Raven for a moment, but Kelazhur is rallying a lot of his units all the way to the forward front lines. These siege tanks are already sieged up though, so at best, I think Kelazhur wants to make TerraN feel like, oh yes, you killed off my Reapers in the Hellion, like I have to back off now and wait for the unsiege, but TerraN is just staying there.
Yeah, and it might have been random chance, Ravi, but the cool thing is that you can stack up random chance instead of or on top of like a sure win, right? Like if you're looking for information with a scan, and you have your Cyclone, which pretty much outranges not just Widowmines, but just about every unit, then you can say, you know, I'm gonna get a scan no matter what. That's the information I want. But on top of that, if there is units nearby, I can pick them up with Cyclone. So it's not like a loss if you don't get it.
Oh man, forcing out a stam. Okay, there are a couple of medevacs over here. Oh, Kelazhur actually walking through the tank fire, realizing his stam is in fact not ready, so he cannot just jump in on top of a siege tank like that. Now has a couple of Vikings over here to join the fray. The auto turret's still very much available. And remember, Kelazhur does have 2 Ravens versus just the 1 right now of TerraN.
Yeah, he could also disrupt these tanks very easily. It's going to be an auto turret just to zone and to make it so that his units can walk into the natural a little bit more easily. Now, TerraN is going to choose to engage a little bit surprisingly, actually, to me. Those tanks are sieged. The Ravens have a lot of energy, and this might just be the 3-0 that we were expecting, but a little bit faster than I was thinking, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot because I get it. Feel like if you lose any more ground, he's going to start getting in range of like your add-ons, like your reactor. Your production is going to be slower. The reinforcements are going to start coming in from behind, and like everything will just start going wrong in a short period of time. So I can kind of understand some urgency, but I mean, I agree with you. Like, there's a reason why that was not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, you have less units and their units are already sieged. It's just not going to work, you know, like it's tough luck. And this is a little bit more sensible to pull the SCVs. Now you give yourself a shot at actually clearing it. Unfortunately, you lost too much earlier. And so you're not going to be able to do even that. And even if he did, he does lose 24 SCVs in the process. So he's just going to be forced to tap out. And Kelazhur will take a very quick and convincing 3